Tanking the charge moves the aggressive pivot into Mamoswine. Mamoswine gets the powder snow farm down. Opponent sends out Dialga, then make a savage catch. Catch the high horsepower onto the low health Xerneas. However, Mamoswine undeterred. No catch saving this trainer. High horsepower 2 locked and loaded. Welcome back to the channel. If you're a fan of PvP and you're not a hardcore grinder, this part of the season is incredibly tough. The only two options we've got are Open Master League and Ultra League Fantasy Cup. Ultra League Fantasy Cup is heavily excelled. I personally invested in G-Weezing and Slurpuff and already a Lowland Sandslash built, but that team cost around 1.8 million to build, so it's just ridiculously expensive. Niantic, how about you put a Great League format cup? However, that being said, today we're going to take a look at a team that is fairly accessible for the Open Master League. The team submitted by GGDawg is actually non-legendary, and all three of these Pokemon had comdays, so getting the XL candy is a lot more accessible than a lot of other teams. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, we lead Mamoswine into basic bitch Dialga. We build up to the high horsepower, bait with the avalanche. We then attempt to catch an Ironhead onto Metagross, and unfortunately we are hard countered with a Ho-Oh. I think another point to note, if you didn't play the comdays, you want to run this team, I don't think you actually need the legacy moves. I think Metagross would function perfectly on Psychic. You can see a great example of why I think that moveset would work. As stuff like Ho-Oh and Gyarados never respect it because nobody runs it. However, getting back into the commentary, we're not sitting in the best spot. We've lost switch advantage. We've sent back out Hydreigon. We're forced to respect the Brave Bird. The opponent is all shields down. Let's hope we can sweep the back line. We see the aggressive swap back into Mamoswine. The opponent saves their low health Ho-Oh, then catch the avalanche onto Swampert, and this is just looking dreadful. Swampert going to be taking out Mamoswine with the Hydro Cannon. Hydreigon probably just not going to have enough in the tank to secure the knockout. Swampert only reaches a Hydro Cannon, which is resisted, but that big tin can is just going to absolutely clap a Hydreigon when it returns. The opponent waits out their clock. They send back out Dialga. Brutal Swing just not going to get the job done, and unfortunately we're off to a 0-1 start. So if you did want to build this team and you didn't play the comdays, you could actually run Hydreigon with Dark Pulse. Heading into battle number 2. Again, we see the basic bitch tin can. If you're wondering why I call it a basic bitch tin can, because absolutely everybody runs Dialga in the Master League. Again, we build up to the high horsepower bait with the Avalanche Mamoswine. Gonna have to respect the Ironhead. The big mammoth now going to be able to outpace to the high horsepower. The opponent attempts to catch onto Giratina altered. My god, that is some counter swap, as Avalanche would have rocked the Giratina. However, GGDawg banks his energy, pivots out into Hydreigon, and we're sitting in a pretty comfortable spot. We do resist the Shadow Claws. We can easily tank 2 Dragon Claws. We then return fire with the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing doesn't knock out, but we get the farm down. Can we make a Brutal Swing against Dialga? No, we get farm down. GGDawg opts to send out Metagross, who do resist all charge moves, but this Draco's gonna hurt. Draco lands for a lot of resisted damage. We then combo into Mamoswine. The opponent also pivots out into Shadow Mewtwo. We land the Avalanche bait. We then full send the high horsepower. High horsepower rocks Mewtwo deep into the red. However, the opponent gets the full Psycho Cut farm down. Tough decision to make. We call the Shadow Ball. We correctly shield up the Shadow Ball. We commit to the Bullet Punch farm down, back out. Comes Dialga. We reach the Earthquake, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Very nicely done. In the next battle, we'll lead Mamoswine into Melmetal. Another tin can. This tin can going to be quite problematic for both Mamoswine and our Hydreigon, as Superpower hits both are super effective. The opponent full sends the Superpower. GGDawg gonna bait with the Avalanche. Melmetal has lowered its defense and commits to protection. Will then pivot out into Metagross. The opponent opts to chip us with a debuffed Superpower. Metagross shrugs it off really easily, and the opponent now send out a Dragon Tail Garchomp. Garchomp on Mudshot, pretty dominant against Metagross. However, when they're on Dragon Tail, it's actually a pretty good matchup for us. GGDawg calls the Earth Power. The opponent full sends the Earth Power, a great shield. We then overfarm, return fire with Meteor Mash number 2. We've now took back switch advantage. The opponent sends back out Melmetal. They dump energy, not wanting to get hit with an Earthquake. GGDawg lets his Metagross go down. We send back out Mamoswine. Melmetal so spammy. They're already at another charge move. Again, they throw the Super. The opponent continues to stay in. GGDawg going for a risky Avalanche bait. The opponent shields the bait. We then look to catch the next debuff Super onto Hydreigon. The debuff Super doesn't do too much damage. The opponent's final Pokemon is Mewtwo. Hello, this could be playable. The opponent over farming. We fire off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing secures the knockout. Back out comes Melmetal. We make one more Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing won't be lethal. The opponent getting low on HP. They're not at back-to-back charge moves. Superpower secures the knockout. It's going to be a race. Mamoswine versus Melmetal, and the Mammoth does not let us down, and we take a very close game. GG's. Despite GGDawg seeing a core breaker in the form of Melmetal, he manages to pull off a very nice victory. I think stuff like Hydreigon is such a great anti-meta pick, as Giratina and Mewtwo are everywhere and this thing is such a good response. In the next battle we see a great lead. The opponent save switches into yet another Melmetal. Let's see how GGDawg plays about this one. He called the rock side, the opponent full sent the super power, which probably caught him and myself off guard. We then bait with the avalanche and the opponent calls it. However, we catch the next move onto Metagross. Debuff super doesn't do too much damage. The opponent's now got a 2-stage lowered defense. Melmetal going to throw superpower number 3. Now they've got a 3-stage lowered defense. They're going to definitely be in Meteor Mash range. GGDawg continuing to overfarm. He looks to farm up to almost back-to-back Meteor Mashes. Meteor Mash going to be secure in the knockout. As we overfarmed, we're going to be able to reach a Meteor Mash against the Dragonite. However, as we let ourselves get so low, the opponent is going to be able to Dragon Breath farm us all the way down. We send out Mamoswine. At this stage, we're going to have to shield everything. Dragon Claw would be lethal. The opponent then pivot out into Kyogre, and here comes Hydreigon. Another matchup. This anti-meta pick is really great against the waterfalls are resisted. We go for the Brutal Swing. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. This isn't enough for a Blizzard, but GGDawg recognising this is only healthy Pokemon remaining, opts to shield up a Surf. He then overfarms, throws the Brutal Swing again at very nice timing, only giving away minimal free energy to this Kyogre. Kyogre now fires off the Thunder. Thunder doesn't secure the knockout. The opponent attempts to swipe with Dragonite. No such luck. We pivot back out into Mamoswine. We fire off the Avalanche back out. Comes Kyogre. They waterfall farm down, but we got the Brutal Swing banked. And that is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. GGDawg showing cat-like reactions in the end game, and we are starting to cook and get some momentum with this team. Heading into the next battle. What a lead. Mamoswine into Garchomp. We're going to hit him with double super effective. Due to ground and dragon being weak to ice, the opponent evidently has no response from Mamoswine. They throw a quick move and say, fuck that, we're out of here. And GGDawg goes a nice 4-1 in set number 1. We're going to take our first look at what elo range these battles are in. GGDawg pushing up towards 2300, looking to advance to Veteran. Moving on to set number 2. This lead should be good for Mamoswine, however I'd say this is more of a neutral matchup as Groudon has access to Fire Punch, which is usually a shit move, but my god, Groudon hits hard. We tank the Fire Punch, return fire with the Avalanche. We then look to catch the move onto Hydreigon. Stay in school, kids. Learn to count. Groudon, much like Swampert, takes 5 Mud Shots, then 4 to each Fire Punch, as Fire Punch and Hydro Cannon both cost the same energy, which is 40. The opponent then built up to the Precipice Blaze. We saw GGDawg shield the Precipice Blaze. The opponent then pivot out into Lugia. We land the Brutal Swing. Lugia so thick, they tank that really well. GGDawg survives the Sky Attack. What a call, what knowledge of his Pokemon. We then manage to land the next Brutal Swing. We come into Metagross, commit to the Bullet Punch, farm down, back out. Comes Groudon. We then farm up, throw the Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash forces the final protection. We then look to pivot back out into Mamoswine. We see the instant shield deployed. The opponent fires off the Fire Punch. Then send out Mewtwo. Mewtwo has no Protect Shields, too high beyond. We fire off the Avalanche. Avalanche lands for huge damage. The opponent then CMP ties us on the next Avalanche. It's all down to Metagross. Can we Bullet Punch down before they reach a Shadow Ball? Yes, we can. And we Bullet Punch down Groudon. And we take that game. In the next battle, we see the return of Dialga. Are you surprised? Because I'm certainly not. The opponent pivots out into Kyogre, and here comes Hydreigon. Hydreigon tearing apart this bulky blue whale with the Dragon Breaths. We're going to go straight for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing goes unshielded. The opponent farming up a boatload of energy. We see the shield deployed. The opponent full sends the Blizzard. Great shield from GGDawg. The opponent now send back out their Tin Can. We're going to fire off Brutal Swing number 1, and the opponent actually shields. Hydreigon still not done, makes Brutal Swing number 2, and Dialga now already down below half health. We now send out Metagross, operating as the damage sponge. The opponent actually goes to the Iron Head bait. That's a very strange play. And then we see yet another Shadow Mewtwo. GGDawg fires off the Meteor Mash, forcing the final protection. We then see the pivot into Mamoswine. I imagine we're just going to sack the Mammoth. The opponent fires off the Side Strike. Mamoswine hangs on with a sliver of HP, makes the Avalanche. Avalanche doesn't knock out, back out. Comes Metagross, we get the Bullet Punch, farm down, back out. Comes the Tin Can, and you, sir, can get absolutely wrecked. Eat the Earthquake. GG's and thanks for playing. GGDawg on a very nice run of dubs. In the next battle, we see Mewtwo this time in the lead. This one isn't Shadow, but stay in school, kids. Learn to count. We catch the Side Strike onto Hydreigon. The opponent then answers a Hydreigon save switch with Giratina. Trainer, is that the swap you're looking for? I certainly think it is not. The opponent fires off the Shadow Ball. Hydreigon shrugs it off, returns fire with the Brutal Swing. The opponent completely sacked Giratina and then send back out Mewtwo. Is Hydreigon going to go on an absolute tear up here? The opponent now shields it up. They can't Psycho Cut farm us down. We're actually going to see GGDawg invest a protection on the side struggles. We're already at the next Brutal Swing. Hydreigon running through the opponent's team. They invest their final Protect Shield. The opponent even forced to dump energy. Hydreigon absolutely going off. Let's go. GGDawg now sends out his Metagross. I don't think I've mentioned it in the video yet, but this is actually only a level 47.5 Metagross and is still functioning really well. The opponent's final Pokemon is Ursaluna. Why would you not come into Ursaluna against Hydreigon? I've got no idea. However, we land the Meteor Mash, pivot out into Mamoswine for that wham bam combo play, land the Avalanche, and that is going to be yet another dub. Moving on to the next one. The Mammoth into this bird that, if I'm being brutally honest, looks like a piece of streaky bacon. The opponent running 4-turn Gust, but they still manage to make a great catch the Avalanche onto Gyarados. We don't really have the best response for Gyarados, so we opt to bank an Avalanche and send out Hydreigon. Hydreigon does take super effective from the Dragon Breath, however we do resist both charge moves, as they normally run Aqua Tail and Crunch. However, the Dragon Breath tearing us apart, the opponent recognising they can take back Switch, but they're down 2 shields. GGDawg sends out Metagross. He's not even going to respect the Crunch. Crunch lands for huge super effective damage. The opponent gets the defense drop. You hate to see it. We're now forced to shield of an Aqua Tail. The opponent then combo play, sending out your Yveltal. We commit a shield and the opponent actually throws the Oblivion Wing. So you definitely want to throw Dark Pulse. Perhaps they've got Focus Blast as a second move. We'll never know as we get the Bullet Punch farm down. We now send out Mamoswine. Mamoswine gonna fire off the Avalanche into this Gyarados. What can we beat in the back? The opponent's got Dragonite. Hi Dragonite, bye Dragonite. Double super effective Avalanche is more than enough to take that game. I thought we was in a sticky spot there, but Dragonite in the back was absolute food from Mammoth. Speaking of Dragonite this time, we see it in the lead. The opponent save switch into Excadrill. Excadrill through the Rock Slide. Mamoswine is a ground and ice type, so you definitely want to throw Drill Run as it is better DPE. However, GGDawg probably not going to complain, as the opponent is throwing the less energy efficient move. We've actually got more HP remaining. We shield up the next Rock Slide over farm, fire off Avalanche number 2, and the opponent invested both protections, then look to catch a Rock Slide onto Metagross. No such luck. The opponent had Drill Run the entirety of the time. They evidently didn't know their typings, which is going to completely sack Metagross. Metagross goes down to the next Drill Run. We come into Hydreigon, look for the Dragon Breath farm down. We don't get it, so we're going to see GGDawg shield up the Drill Run. Back out comes Dragonite. We fire off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing won't knock out, but we'll get this thing below half health. The opponent going to be forced to throw a move. Dragon Claw going to be lethal. Can Mamoswine one-shot something in the back again? We get the Powder Snow farm down. Come on, show me Giratina Origin, please. No, it's Metagross. Unfortunately, as we're not Shadow and they're not Shadow, high horsepower, despite being a pretty good move, just doesn't do enough damage. The opponent withstands the high horsepower, commit to the Bullet Punch farm down, and we take a heartbreaking loss in the final battle of set number 2. So close to a 5-0, but we're going to take a 4-1, and we now advance to 2308. Heading into set number 3, that's right, we've got 3 sets today. Metagross, not fantastic. We opt to come into the mirror as we're level 47.5. We definitely probably don't win CMP. However, I shoutcast on my phone, so it's not like I can actually read the opponent's CP, but I imagine they're probably level 50. GGDawg opted to treat himself to a cheeky masturbating session. The opponent shield up the Meteor Mash, then return the favour, masturbating at us in return. We then didn't build up to the Earthquakes. The opponent knew they could survive the next Meteor Mash, they then nuke us with the Earthquake. We have managed to get this Metagross into the red. We send out Hydreigon, look for the Dragon Breath farm down. Unfortunately, no such luck. We shield up the next Meteor Mash. We then do commit to the Dragon Breath farm down. However, we've got no Protect Shields, too high behind. The opponent now sends out Dragonite. We land the Brutal Swing, pivot out into Mamoswine. Dragonite reaches the Superpower. Superpower going to be vanquishing us. Back to our Pokeball. We send back out Hydreigon. They've got their own Mamoswine, and we're going to see the instant top left. GG to that opponent. Also running a triple non-legendary team. However, speaking of legendaries, the opponent in the next battle definitely has a legendary, a very cool, shiny Geomancy Xerneas. The opponent goes straight for the close combat. We see the instant shield deployed. The opponent continues to stay in, so we're going to get our shield back with the Avalanche. I'm really hopeful next season we see a lot of move updates, because this Xerneas was an absolute potato before access to Geomancy. Just that small move tweak has made this thing a top meta threat. We shield up both close combats. force both Protect Shields with our Avalanche, but then see the pivot into Metagross to absorb close combat number 3, keeping our Mamoswine fairly healthy. The opponent send out Giratina. Giratina going to be able to tank this Meteor Mash, commit to the full Shadow Claw farm down. The opponent probably thinks they're in a great spot, however Hydreigon going to be able to absorb all of this energy. We wait out our timer, send in Hydreigon. Hopefully the opponent doesn't have Dragon Pulse. They fire off the Shadow Ball. However, that could have just been a blind Shadow Ball. The opponent going to fire off Shadow Ball. Number 2, we then look to snipe with Mamoswine. We get the Powder Snow farm down. The opponent's final Pokemon is Dialga. The opponent makes a great catch, catching the high horsepower onto Xerneas. However, no catch will be saving you, trainer. We're at the second high horsepower. It's locked. It's loaded. Hi Dialga, bye Dialga. Get absolutely wrecked. GG's and thanks for playing. When shields are down, Mamoswine absolutely goes to town. Powder Snow, a really good quick move, generate energy really well. Avalanche is a side strike clone and high horsepower hits like a truck. In the next battle we see a great lead. The opponent save switch into Mewtwo. We get some weird lag. However, GGDawg still manages to catch the side strike onto Hydreigon. Most save switch Mewtwo. Do run Shadow Ball as a second charge move. The opponent builds up to what could be an Ice Beam. We respect it. It's only a Shadow Ball, so that is going to allow Hydreigon now to commit to the full Dragon Breath farm down. The opponent makes one more side strike. We shrug it off. We do get the full farm down. We're absolutely loaded. The opponent forced to show their third as Giratina have a tough time of dealing with this Hydreigon. We throw the Brutal Swing at Dialga, forcing a protection. We then throw Brutal Swing number 2, getting Dialga down below half health. We then send out Metagross. The opponent then pivot out into Giratina. We see the combo back into Mamoswine, fire off the Avalanche, forcing the final Protect Shield. The super spammy Mammoth able to make the Avalanche. This won't knock out. And you're actually going to see I'm going to slow this down to explain something. So what I'd personally do here is Shadow Ball won't take us out. I just let the opponent take me out. You'd commit to the Bullet Punch farm down because Giratina wouldn't make another charge move. You can see probably 3 or 4 Bullet Punches would take him out. However, as we haven't stopped tapping, Dialga is now going to get the Dragon Breath farm down. We don't reach the move. So if we didn't have a Protect Shield, we'd actually be in danger of getting Draco. So I think the best play there would be stop tapping, farm down Giratina with Metagross, get the Earthquake ready, and you can just nuke this thing into oblivion. These are just some tips and tricks to help you reach Legend or just optimize some of your gameplay. However, GGDawg had a Protect Shield to hide behind. We reached the Earthquake and managed to take that game. However, me personally, I'm always looking to find win cons, to play optimally, maximize energy, etc. Moving on to the next one. Tricky lead, Mamoswine into Melmetal. We get some weird lag. Is that 4 or 5? Is this a double Iron Bash? I'm not really sure as we got some stutter lag. The opponent is on double Iron Bash. We're now going to full send the high horsepower. Does the opponent respect the damage? Sadly, they do. And they're at Iron Bash number 2. We're going to see a Protect Shield deployed. Do we look to make a catch? We're looking for it and we get it. Double Iron Bash, not the hardest hitting moves. When resisted, is going to do absolutely nothing. The opponent answers our Metagross save switch with Kyogre. They go straight for the Surf. Metagross is going to withstand the damage. We reach the Earthquake. Earthquake going to land for heavy neutral damage. It rocks this Kyogre down. They're now already in the red, so despite there being a really unfavourable matchup for Metagross and being underleveled, we've still done fairly well. GGDawg now sends out his Hydreigon to commit to the Dragon Breath farm down. The opponent only reaches the Surf. That's an easy tank for our Dragon. GGDawg looking to pivot back out into Mamoswine. The opponent sends out Landorus. Back out comes Melmetal and we're going for the Avalanche bait. The opponent shield the bait. Can Mamoswine outpace Melmetal to the high horsepower? We shield up the double Iron Bash. We reach the high horsepower. Is high horsepower enough to one-shot? Yes, it is. Back out comes Landorus. Landorus gonna need to throw energy. I think double Super is going to take the game for the opponent, but they actually opt to Stone Edge, not wanting to debuff themselves. This is going to allow a Hydreigon to reach the Brutal Swing and take that game. I think even a debuff Superpower probably would have been enough to take out our Hydreigon, as Landorus hits pretty hard. Moving on to the next one. We see the battle of the Ice types. Ice is a terrible defensive typing. Ice does resist Ice, however, due to our ground typing and Kyurem's Dragon typing, we're hitting each other for neutral with our Ice type damage. The opponent shield up the Avalanche. We tank the Glaciate. Look to make the second Avalanche. Unfortunately, we didn't get there. We got Dragon Breath farm down. We then sent out Metagross. The opponent through the Glaciate and then pivoted out into Mewtwo. We are going to respect potential Ice Beam. Again, the opponent only got Shadow Ball, so we could have survived that. However, sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. I often die with 2 shields. We threw the Brutal Swing, securing the knockout. Back out comes Kyurem. We're already at the next Brutal Swing. The opponent invests that final Protect Shield. Can we Dragon Breath farm down? No. The opponent on a sliver of HP. Reach the Glaciate. We shield up. We commit to the Dragon Breath farm down. We look to reset our debuff. Sending out Metagross. The opponent's got Lugia in the back.
This should be signed, sealed and delivered.
Legaue is going to have to go all the way to an Aeroblast to take care of this Metagross. However, Metagross will make 2 Meteor Mashes, putting this thing into the red. The opponent at the Aeroblast, I'm unsure if they undercharge, but either way, that isn't going to save them, as we're only a few Dragon Breaths away from the Brutal Swing, and Brutal Swing is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. And I believe GGDawg went another 4-on-1, so a nice 12-3 run. GGDawg showing that you can use non-legendaries and even use a level 47.5 Metagross and still have some success in the Open Master League. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you want to be a member of my Discord, it's linked down below. If you'd like your battles featured on my channel, my battle submission form is also linked down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I will see you all in